Okay, so welcome and thank you for clicking on the video. And today I'm so excited to be interviewing Kris. Kris is the owner of EMR Tech, and EMR Tech, you know about this because I am always talking to you about the red light lamp and also about the blue blocker glasses that I was wearing. I was having them on last Sunday on our live stream, and today I'm having the yellow one because it's day. So Kris, welcome and thank you so much for being here. I'm really honored.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to talk about my story and give you guys the lowdown of red light therapy and how it could potentially benefit you. Some things that I wanted to discuss in detail, just because I think it affects like the normal population so much. One is how red light can improve your hair. The other one is how and I'm talking like I've seen some crazy stuff over the last 5 years since this business has developed. I've seen guys literally regrow their entire hair. That's the reason I got into red light, because I was having some hair issues. I'm not having them anymore, but
did you?
yeah, I did actually.
When
Yeah,
the people began, I thought, oh, wow, I'd like to
yeah.
have those hair.
It's funny because um maybe like 6 years ago I started having some hair fall, and I was like, well, it was like standard guy, receding, just the whole standard thing. And most, unless you take some like really harsh drugs, it's really hard to stop if it's in your genetics. And the red light did it for me. And in combination with a shampoo that I've been using, from Korea. Basically, it's got like a patented black bamboo extract, but it's like got vasodilators like spearmint, menthol, and just really brings the blood to the surface of the skin. The red light does the same thing. They have this saying, um, in essentially quantum biology, where it's like wherever energy goes, blood flows. The reason the hair dies is because it literally gets suffocated. The DHT, it's called dihydrotestosterone. It binds to the hair follicle. It cuts off the hair follicle's blood supply. So obviously, if you shine the red light on the head, and it's known to increase blood circulation, it actually brings blood to that area that you directly pointed on. And so it's really effective. And another article the other day just came out acknowledging low level laser therapy, or essentially LED red light therapy, as being an FDA approved solution for this. There's a couple drugs on the market like finasteride. Basically, it lowers your male hormone, your dihydrotestosterone, that essentially makes you a man. There's horror stories about this drug. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not making any recommendations, but I won't take it. And my buddy tried taking it, and literally for like some there are actually like sexual reasons, he completely quit. He's like, I can't take it. And that's a pretty crazy, I mean, it's a pretty big decision. It must have been really bad for him. But anyways, if you want, I can talk a little bit about my past, and we can.
Sure. But just because you said the DHT was binding, but where does that DHT come from?
So essentially, testosterone converts to dihydrotestosterone. Dihydrotestosterone. A lot of people think like masculinity essentially comes down to testosterone, but it actually comes down to dihydrotestosterone. That's the hormone that's responsible for secondary androgenic, development. So essentially, like facial hair, deepening of the voice, the jaw, You know, a lot of that stuff is the responsibility of dihydrotestosterone. Unfortunately, in men and women also who are predisposed to having DHT affect their hair follicles, this is about 50, upwards of 50% of the entire population, men and women.
Okay.
This DHT will bind to the hair follicle, suffocate it over time, and cut off the blood supply. That's why the hair actually miniaturizes. So it's called hair depilation, where basically it miniaturizes, it gets smaller and smaller. And, you know, that's why you see guys, you know, losing their hair over time. It's not actually losing their hair, it miniaturizes, then it grows thinner, then it grows thinner.
Yeah.
And red light is actually proposed to be an alpha-5 reductase inhibitor, which is lowering DHT. So it's also bringing blood to the surface of your skin, but it's lowering DHT in the actual scalp, which is good.
So
go ahead.
You are hanging it above your head. How do you do that?
Yeah. So funny stories. I have a lot of funny stories. When I was like 22, I lived with my dad, and I was still using these lights. And you know, he was like, "What are you doing, man?" But anyways, I used to lie with it on my bed, and have it at the top of my bed, and just, you know, but I don't recommend that anymore because our cob chip lens is a very powerful lamp, and you know probably that it can get quite hot if you leave it in operation for a while. So I recommend that you just lie down on a yoga mat at a distance of 1 foot. The hair should feel slightly warm, just very slightly warm from the near infrared light. And you lie there for 20 minutes a day. And then, you know, use like a shampoo that has, you know, menthol, spearmint in it, natural vasodilators that are also going to bring, you know, blood to the surface of the skin. That combination, my hair recession or loss or whatever you want to call it, was, you know, mild to moderate. So it was like, this can be handled with this sort of application. If it's very aggressive, you know, you might need to take something like finasteride. But if you do that, and I'm not a medical expert, ask your doctor about compounding the finasteride into a topical cream. And that way it's not absorbed, or it's not, you know, essentially absorbed systemically and lowers your DHT levels throughout your body. That can cause a ton of issues, long-term, short-term. Short-term are sexual, and they are also like mood related. There's a lot of depression that comes along with the drug. That's clinically noted. But also DHT protects your heart. So
Know that.
yeah, there's like my friend, the American biohacker Russ Scala, had a saying, it's like hair or heart when it comes to finasteride. So, and he is like extensive, like he's the man for heart disease. He's got a book out there called American Biohacker. It's a good read.
American biohackers?
Yes, the American Biohacker. He's cool. He worked for like first responders and all like the SWAT. He was like the emergency like doctor there, you know. So yeah, he's seen a lot of stuff, but yeah.
Well, I wasn't planning to learn so much in the first minutes, but I told my people that you had a story with vitiligo. Is it vitiligo?
Yes, that is how you say it. Perfect. Yeah. So when I was 3, my mom started noticing all these white spots like on my body, like depigmentation. And so she took me to the doctor, and of course they said that it was vitiligo, which is the disease that Michael Jackson had. In Michael Jackson, it got so bad they had to, you know, I guess he chose to, you know, bleach his skin. So he actually was just like, screw this, I can't beat it, which is sad because it's really not true. And I still find it fascinating, but most doctors still don't know about this treatment. It has a 95% efficacy, and you can run a blood test to actually see if it works for you before you invest in it. Um, the therapy, so my mom took me to Germany to see this PhD slash dermatologist, and it was in a big group. And essentially, she prescribed me. This was at the point where I was like 9 years old. I had already had full blown tanning beds in my room, which I used daily, even as a child myself.
Okay.
Um,
With results?
all different. Yes, at this point, at this point it was UVA. Like, if you have to do it every day, my mom trusted me even at like 6 years old to do it properly, and so these were in my room. When I went to Germany, she's like, no, it's not UVA that you need. It's narrow band UVB, which is wavelengths 311 to 312 nanometers.
311? 311,
Yes.
312?
Yeah, it's a narrow banded ultraviolet B spectrum. That's also the wavelength that's responsible for creating vitamin D, synthesizing vitamin D in your skin. There's a couple wavelengths, but in that range, minus 10 or 20 either way can affect vitamin D synthesis.
Okay.
So there's two benefits. One, it'll help you heal your vitiligo. It's really good for psoriasis. The second thing is that it increases vitamin D significantly. Like in vitamin D deficient individuals, narrow band ultraviolet B light increased vitamin D 70% in 1 minute exposure. So, yeah, yeah, it's pretty wild. And that's like standard across the board, like clinical research. There's not really too much debate about the efficacy of narrow band ultraviolet B increasing vitamin D.
Okay.
But anyways, had these booths in my childhood bedroom. Program them every day and tan myself before I put this cream that this doctor in Germany made. And by the time I was about 14, I had repigmented all the skin on my body, besides my hands, and my feet are still really bad, But it was bad to the point where people were like asking me if I poured acid on myself. Kids are kind of messed up, but yeah, it was really bad.
And so that's the cream and the light that gave you most results. So
yeah, absolutely. And you can use natural sunlight. And the thing is that, the doctors told me every single doctor I went to told me to stay out of the sun, carry an umbrella, wear sunscreen. The problem with sunscreen is that a lot of sunscreens contain titanium dioxide nanoparticles.
Yeah.
These, especially if they're exposed to chlorine, there can be other agents that take the coating off the nanoparticle. And when that does happen, it reacts with your skin and it creates hydrogen peroxide. Well, you know what it does when you put it on your hair, because I just did that the other day, right?
Yeah, it's bleaching it, basically.
Yeah, so I'm running a little experiment, but anyways, it creates hydrogen peroxide, a free radical, and it just destroys the melanocytes in people who are predisposed to vitiligo. And then once it's done destroying the melanocytes, you see a white patch of pigment. So literally, like the sunscreen would have been the worst idea for me. Yeah, it makes it worse.
When I was a kid, my grandmother had vitiligo too, and she was always telling me how dangerous it was for her to go, and also for me. So I've always thought people with vitiligo should, more than others, get sunscreen and umbrellas and stuff like that. I thought.
Yeah. No, and it's extremely weird. I haven't figured it out. It's really, it's I'm 100% positive that this is the way to heal vitiligo. Like, I don't care what any other doctor says. I literally don't care if they have an opposing opinion, because I saw not only in myself, but in this massive group of people that went to see this doctor, like everyone having success. So, and you know, so we know how to heal vitiligo, and it's available. It's pseudocatalase cream. You apply it 10 minutes before you go in ultraviolet B. What the goal is just from the narrow band ultraviolet B is to create what's called minimal erythemic response. And so you want that slight pink. So you want to put on the cream, you want to go in the narrow band ultraviolet B just to get slightly pink, like as slight as you can. And this is what triggers the melanocytes to come back to life. And thank God. Thank God.
That's amazing. But I really wonder, because I don't doubt that doctors want to help people, but when I was a child, after I was told that the sun was dangerous all the time by my parents, I got, when I was 7, I became allergic to the sun. And it was like that for so much years. So I was protecting myself with sunscreens and hats and glasses, and until 15 years later, I had to go for 2 weeks to Las Vegas, because I was with friends playing poker, and I was so excited to go because it was new. And you know, at that time, the difference between Europe and the US was really huge. It's not like today, you know. So I was so excited that I forgot that I should put sunscreen, and I was all of a sudden I wasn't allergic to the sun anymore, like nothing. And we were in Las Vegas, so I thought, okay, but what is it that changed? Because for sure that I couldn't, last night I was allergic, and today I am not. I was really confused.
So what do you think it was? You think it was all the sunscreen, or?
No, but maybe the idea of, because I kind of I
the psychological?
I surrender to the idea that it is dangerous. So the brain, I think it's so powerful that.
Yeah, you that's very likely. You know, it's very probable that I mean, yeah. I think if you think something's, I mean, placebo, right? It's a fact.
And I forgot to be allergic. But if I had thought, it's 40 degrees outside, I have to protect, maybe I would have had the same reaction that I always have. But
okay, so do you want to move on to some other stuff? I can go back,
because I remember that you lived in Canada. I thought, okay, you cannot have a lot of UVB. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, so I mean, before our podcast here, I was in front of my little red light, and in the afternoon, I have like 4 tanning beds upstairs, so I'm good. And I've been doing this since I was like, I'm 30 now. I've been doing this since I was 5 years old. When I had juvenile skin, I was nuking it with ultraviolet light. I don't have like many wrinkles, and my skin is not damaged. I have 0 age spots.
I thought tanning beds were UVA actually. But
they do have some UVB. They do have some UVB, but yeah, no, you're right. The UVA is the most destructive, especially when it's not present with UVB. So if you want, you need to have like a tanning bed that's like 50% UVB, or even 75% UVB and 25% UVA. You know, and even that's a little much. But essentially, what happens? So this is what happens to your skin when sunlight hits it. it engages what's called the natural human photoprotective response. And this is a scientific term. You can look it up, natural human photoprotective response. Essentially, when ultraviolet B hits our skin, it engages the human photoprotective response. It triggers what's called melanogenesis. Melanogenesis is the production of melanin pigment. Not only does ultraviolet B hitting our skin do that, but it also shifts, the scientific word is called translocates, that newly formated melanin to the apex of the nucleus to form what looks like, you know, an umbrella. Funny enough, right? How funny is that? So I got my own umbrella over every single cell. So why I gotta use an umbrella, you know? But essentially what happens is that melanin protects the nucleus, the keratinocyte nucleus, from the UVA coming down it, which penetrates deeper. And if that it's called a supranuclear cap. If that supranuclear cap of melanin is not there because UVB didn't interact with your skin and generate it, by the way, sunscreens block UVB completely. You don't have that natural protection. Me being, you know, I don't know, it doesn't matter why I came to this conclusion, because I think it's a fairly natural conclusion. I'm going to stick with my natural human photo protection, sun protection, my natural human sun protection, instead of buying into, you know, the cosmetic industry that pushes sunscreen, which is essentially a huge lie. They literally just like made up a bunch of lies to push sunscreen. So
yeah, but I'm very happy that you bring that up, because every time someone is speaking about how beneficial the sun could be, that brings the topic of UVB and how dangerous it is. And I love that you put it in a simple way, but we have our own sunscreen inside.
And check this out too. So on top of the natural human photoprotective response, which has been designed by nature over billions of years, okay? So on top of that, even if you get really burnt, so it's called mutation induction suppression. You acquire mutations like this until a certain point, and then it just goes like that. It flatlines. There's no more mutations. So, you know, it's not good to get super burnt, but if you do, it's not like you're acquiring mutations like this. It literally stops. Your body cuts it off. No more mutations. As you know, mutations can cause cancer. If you get a mutation in a P53 tumor suppressor gene, then, you know, that's a problem. But essentially, the mutations are mostly caused by oxidative stress, and oxidative stress can be prevented, especially by the sun, via the application of topical antioxidants, for example, vitamin C and vitamin E, and green tea in combination is the best.
That's why you have the green tea in your serum?
That's not why. I mean, it helps with photo protection. I mean, we don't claim SPF because, you know, we've ran no studies, but it's well known across the board. There's hundreds of clinical data. Just Google topical antioxidants, NCBI, photo protection, and it'll populate all the relevant data. Literally, it's hundreds of studies. They all say the same thing. I couldn't find one that didn't. And, you know, that's why they're adding vitamin C, E, and different antioxidants into actual sunscreens these days, you know, but sunscreen interferes with your natural photoprotective response. So I'm like, you know, how about we take the stuff that's interfering with the natural, you know, mechanisms that protect us out. I don't want none of that. And let's accept, you know, the natural derived, you know, you know, vitamin C extracts extracted from different, you know, fruits, and we can apply them to the skin, and you can also take them orally. And that's what I suggest well, that's what I do. I'm not making any suggestions as I'm not a medical professional, but that's what I do. I drink green tea, and then I also apply my own serum that we manufacture in Korea, because that's where you go if you know what you're doing about cosmetics to manufacture. And yeah, I mean, I personally think it's a better route than applying sunscreen, because not only does it not block the human photoprotective response, but you can actually synthesize vitamin D in your skin now. That's pretty important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
I don't know about you in the US, but in France, there is some laws that are coming to forbid the people from buying vitamin D in stores. So we have to learn how to make our own. So
yeah, exactly.
people will learn how to, when it is, when we have it will be, and how to do it.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. And you know, like those drugs, like cholesterol reducing drugs, like they're called statins. They're widely prescribed internationally, and those actually reduce the concentrations of cholesterol in your skin, so you make less vitamin D from those as well. That's a side effect. It's a pretty significant one that's not talked about, but yeah, you know.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah. So there's an epidemic of vitamin D deficiency, and there's a lot of reasons behind it, but they're all caused by us. So it means that we can eliminate them.
Okay. Yeah. So you have those tanning beds in your house, and
Yes.
you have, how much time do you stay with your red device?
So in the morning, like literally just before I got on with you, I start every morning off, like my routine's super big for me in the morning. Like it's like, obviously routines can be super powerful for people. My routine is I get up, um, I shower or whatever, and then I sit in front of my red light, like in meditation pose, like Buddha. Um, and I place it at like, you know, 1.5 to 2 feet for 20 minutes. And I just do some breathing, you know, deep breathing and meditation.
Me too.
And I can explain why I do that. But I'll have to explain how red light works first, and then we can get into how
I wanted to ask you that.
Yeah. So, okay. So there's certain wavelengths of light. There's specific wavelengths of light, specifically 630, 670, and 830. These wavelengths of light are proven with tons of clinical literature on them. They are shown to be most effectively absorbed by cytochrome C oxidase in the mitochondrial electron transport chain. So essentially, when these photons, these specific photons hit the fourth enzyme called cytochrome C oxidase in the mitochondria's electron transport chain, so it's the fourth enzyme. When these little specific photons hit that enzyme, it releases nitric oxide from the electron transport chain. When nitric oxide is released from the electron transport chain, oxygen can be more effectively processed because they compete with each other. Okay. So you release the nitric oxide, the photons hit the fourth enzyme, it releases the nitric oxide, oxygen's more effectively processed, and the net result is increased adenosine triphosphate, ATP, or chemical energy production. Okay. And I just want to make a note that 80% of all new age diseases are from one, a lack of chemical energy, and two, inflammation. The second way that red light and red and near infrared light works to create, you know, a more suitable environment for the body to thrive, I guess you could say, or heal, is that it modulates the soluble protein mediator. So it essentially what it does is it modulates and this is why I tell people You don't have to irradiate your entire body. It's best to get the top half, yeah, and where the central nervous system is, where all the organ systems are, where the highest mitochondrial density in your eye, in your heart, in your central nervous system, in your brain. And so, but a lot of the anti-inflammatory effects are actually from blood irradiation. And what these wavelengths of light do, are they change so it's called, they modify the soluble, they modify the messengers in the blood to essentially say to the body, we need a more anti-inflammatory state. So they modify what's called, the light modifies what's called soluble protein mediators in the blood. They're also known as SPMs, fractalkines, all different kinds of soluble protein mediators. But it changes the cocktail of the blood's messengers. And, so, even on a wound, for wound healing, say you get a cut here, you can irradiate your leg or your artery right here, and it'll help speed up the healing here, because you just change that soluble protein mediator cocktail in your blood to something that's more anti-inflammatory. When you have inflammation, you first need to get over the inflammation before you can heal. If you're in a state of chronic inflammation, you will never heal. You'll never get past it. And you can see that in skin, because first it's the inflammation, then it's once you get past that, it's the proliferative phase where new cells are generated, and then it goes into dermal remodeling, which is essentially the healing. But this process can be extrapolated to many different body systems. You need to resolve the inflammation.
Yeah, but I was wondering about the frequencies, because you said 6:30, I think. Well, because people were sending me links with other lamps from brands from Switzerland or Germany,
Sure.
and I checked the frequencies, and they were kind of different from your lamp, and sometimes there wasn't any orange. I mean, why?
I chose the frequencies based on, no, don't worry about it. I know exactly what you're asking. I chose the frequencies based on the available scientific literature, which explicitly shows that the best wavelengths that are absorbed by the fourth enzyme in the mitochondrial electron transport chain are 630, 670, 760 is actually absorbed very well, but it's not very biologically active, meaning it doesn't do very much. So, or at least it hasn't shown to do that much. I think it's a pretty good wavelength anyways, and I've seen other literatures even for hair growth that says 760 is very good. But yeah, so I chose those three wavelengths, 670, 630, 670, and 830, because they get absorbed by the fourth enzyme in the mitochondria the most effectively. So yeah, there's other wavelengths. They'll give like similar effects, but I think 630, 670, 830 is primarily what you're looking for.
Okay, great. You said we should be 1.5 feet away from the lamp, the device.
Yeah, the general consensus is 30 to 80 centimeters for a duration of 20 to 25 minutes, assessing your skin's tolerance by increasing 5 minutes daily. The great thing about our small firewave, the lamp that you have, is literally it's pretty economic. I mean, it's not super expensive, and that light is actually really powerful, super mobile. And if you sit down in meditations pose, and you prop that little lamp up so that the central cob chip is in line with your sternum, and you're sitting in meditations pose, you can virtually irradiate your entire body with that little lamp. So this is what I want to do. You know, I want to make it accessible financially, because trust me, there's some companies out there that like to, well, I mean, there's companies out there that sell my lamp for 369 euros. We're selling it for like, you know, 212 US dollars. So anyways, we are the original creators of this lamp. Lots of people have copied me, but it is what it is. I create lamps for the world now, I suppose.
But if you have a good thing, if you are a genius, you're going to be copied.
Yeah, well, I thank you for saying that. Okay, so essentially why I do the deep breathing in the morning is because it's a synergy, and you know, it really comes down to routine, getting the most out of these devices, especially at such a low price point. It's like 212 US dollars, I think, and you can try it. If you hyperoxygenate the tissues, like through deep breathing, you hyperoxygenate the tissues because of the way red light affects the mitochondrial electron transport chain. Remember when I said it removes it's called photo dissociation. It's like the dissociation via photons of the nitric oxide. Oxygen is more effectively processed down this mitochondrial electron transport chain. If you hyperoxygenate the tissues, there's a synergy there, because you're increasing the oxygen concentrations, and you know, so even more ATP will be produced. And you know, I'm all about ATP because my brain uses a lot of ATP, and I need it to function on a daily basis.
But I noticed, because I am too meditating in front of the lamp, but in the meditation that I do, there is a strong breathing at the beginning. And I sometimes, when I don't have much time, I only do the breathing. And I noticed how powerful it was on my, not on ATP, because I don't know about my ATP, but on my dopamine, because I was
it's so good for mood. You know, that's another thing. So when I started on my hair, I was also a little bit sad about it. You know, I was like, oh no, this isn't happening to me. You know, and so I was a little bit sad about it, and I was like, my mood's improving too. And you know, that's not super uncommon, that you know, for guys that end up putting it on their head, and women. I've heard a couple, but not as much. Well, you know, men are super worried about this, and so I have more, you know, anecdotal stories from them. But yeah, it seems to improve mood. A lot of depression, anxiety is actually related to mitochondrial function and dysfunction, specifically. And 50% of all mood disorders are now recognized. The root cause is obviously inflammation. So 2 to 3% of the photons, the near infrared photons, can penetrate the skin. Or can penetrate the skull. So 2 to 3% of those near infrared photons will enter the brain, and you know, improve the chemical energy balance in the neurons, as well as, you know, potentially reducing inflammation. This is a really good recipe for improved mental health, as well as you're going to see some hair growth for sure. I've literally seen a guy, an Indian guy, send me pictures. He also, like, full disclaimer, I'm never gonna lie to people, he also used some weird herbal extract that was like vasodilators. I think I consulted him on this. He grew back all his hair, all of it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like,
definitely gonna try that.
Yeah, for women, it also regulates oil secretion from your scalp. So if you have like dandruff and stuff like that, you can try this. It seems to help my girlfriend right now. She has some of that issue going on, and it seems to be helping her. But yeah, and also just to add that cosmetically, you know, red light increases collagen.
I was gonna ask you about that.
I saw that question. So I can explain how this happens, and it all starts to make sense when you put it together. So there's these tissues called there's these cells called fibroblasts. Those are the cells that produce collagen and elastin. Okay. When red light hits the skin, obviously increases the amount of energy available to the fibroblasts. They are now making more energy. They can produce more collagen and elastin. That's essentially how it works. And yeah, I mean, I think it's also used in Asia, red light therapy for skin whitening, which is, you know, a bit of a touchy topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially they use it for like skin whitening, and for people with hyperpigmentation, theoretically a really good way to try and tackle that without, you know, aggressive laser treatments would be to apply a topical antioxidant serum. And then, you know, wait a little bit and then put red light on, you know.
How much would you wait?
Yeah, I mean, like the serum that we made, I think it's the bomb. I think it's amazing, but
I have it too. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Everyone literally says they love it. But yeah, I would put it on. It absorbs super fast. In clinical dermatology, if the constituents of a formula are over 500 Daltons molecular size, they're not going to penetrate the skin anyways. I honestly, I went to tons of manufacturers. I'm like, show me the molecular size of, like, show me something actually like scientific so I can actually see some like report. And the only thing that I was able to find was actually they weren't able to tell me anything really. And this is like besides hyaluronic acid and the main ingredient, which I choose, it was the best ingredient anyway. It's called hydrolyzed marine collagen, and like fish collagen is known for its small peptide size. So it's like in the beauty industry, it's really highly regarded due to that, and it's based on the fact that it can actually penetrate the skin. And the antioxidant can actually get into the cell and soak up some of those free radicals.
It has to be 500 Dalton. That's it. That's what you said.
Yeah, it can't. And that's why all allergens that cause issues with your skins are like under 500 Daltons. If they weren't, they wouldn't cause an issue for your skin.
If you have to heat it, should it also be 500 Dalton? That's not possible.
No, it's not necessary. It's just for topical applications. But yeah, I mean, you know, I became concerned with this because, like, one, I'm not going to stop tanning. I love it. It makes me happy. But I do know that there's a lot of literature that says ultraviolet light damages skin. So when I'm out in the sun, I'm applying my Starlight serum. I use about half a vial. I just put it on my neck, my face. I love the sun, but I also don't want to age from it, and I won't put sunscreen on.
I had no idea you could use it that way. So you can bring it with you, and if you know there's gonna be UVB, then you crack the ampoules and put it on your skin just like that.
And that's the cool thing about the ampules. It's like you don't have to bring the whole box. You just like put one in your purse, take it to the beach, crack it, throw it out. You're good. You know?
Okay, I'm happy because I thought it was only for the red light. Actually, I use it only.
So I can explain a little bit more about the red light therapy and the serum that we created and why we created it. So there's a study called green tea and red light, a powerful duo in skin rejuvenation. You can just literally type that verbatim into Google. It will populate the National Institute of Health study. Essentially, the scientists applied green tea soaked cotton pads to the face of women after extreme oxidative stress on their skin, and they applied red light. What they found was that the application of green tea prior to the red light exposure resulted in the women getting the efficacy of 90 treatments in 9 treatments in terms of skin rejuvenation.
Sorry, that wasn't the sound was.
So the result was the women got the efficacy, the same results that the women without the green tea got in 90 treatments. The women who used the green tea before the red light therapy, they got the same results of the women that did 90 therapy sessions in only 9.
Oh,
so,
okay. I just get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I would, if that was like a one-off study, I'd be like, okay, interesting, right? But then there's more literature. I mean, there's tons of literature on how green tea affects the skin.
Yeah.
And natural, antioxidant. But there's another one said the extraordinary effect of green tea and red light on cancer. That's not verbatim, but if you type in extraordinary anti-cancer effect of red light and green tea, I'm pretty sure that's pretty much what the study title is. It's pretty interesting.
I should have had it in the description below.
Oh, it's okay. I can help you later.
No, that's great. I had no idea. I'm so happy because I have the ampoules, and now I'm gonna be having them in my purse.
Perfect.
Because when I'm at work, I'm looking, I have the Dminder app, and I'm waiting for the time of the UVB to take my lunch break. So I'm gonna be doing it with the ampoules now. So because we are on the topic of collagen, what is your thoughts on those face masks that some company sells? And they claim that you have to put the mask on your face just 3 minutes, and it's gonna be boosting the collagen production. Some people asked me about that.
I mean, like, no, I think, yeah. So cosmetics is like the worst, like, lying industry of the entire world. It's really scary. Maybe we can do another podcast sometime, and I'll go into detail of all the things that I see so wrong with this industry. I'll tell you one thing. There's no regulations, even in Canada where the regulations are higher. It's totally up to me to determine what's in my skincare, and it's like they're not looking at these ingredients, and I'm sure there's a lot of companies out there that are like, oh, well, we want to make preservative free, yada yada yada. That doesn't exist. There's no cosmetics without preservatives. It just doesn't happen. But they can say that, and they just edit out that ingredient. Nobody knows except them and their manufacturer. That's it. And it's really scary. Because, especially for people like me, like, I have to be extremely cautious of what I put on my skin. I did this as a test because I'm getting more confident. But before, if I put hydrogen peroxide on my skin, I'd get an immediate vitiligo patch. Immediate.
Oh, yeah?
So I'm kind of testing the waters and swimming with the sharks right now. But that's because with my hair. But that's because I know how to repigment my skin. So if I get a little bit on my face, I know how to get it back.
Yeah. No, but I was more about the mask. I was talking about mask with small red lights inside of them.
I know that Neutrogena sold those, and they actually had to have a recall on those. I think it was from the blue light. Is actually very damaging to the eyes when you turn on the blue light setting.
Yeah.
So they had to recall all the units. When you put a device like that on your face, you're exposing it to a powerful electromagnetic field that
Yeah.
that's not going to be good for your cells. You know, it's not going to be good for your brain. It's not going to be good for your eyes. You know, you take away the blue light. So I'm not a fan of any device that has to be touching your skin. I think it's like a cop out to make, you know, less expensive red light devices. You know, we make them super powerful so that you can stay outside of that EMF field safely.
I appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, the other thing is electromagnetic fields cause oxidative stress. One of those free radicals that's produced is hydrogen peroxide, and so you know, if I'm going to make a device, I want to be able to use it outside the EMF. That was like super important to me. The other thing that's different about our red lights, and I was the first, if not the first, maybe there was another company before me that did this. But essentially, we upgraded the power drivers in our lights, so the flicker is like non-existent.
I wanted to ask you about that. Great.
Yeah, LED lights flicker. And Dr. Jack Cruz, who is a friend of mine, he's kind of like the maven of the red light therapy industry.
Yeah.
And he's also a neurosurgeon and dentist. He's an amazing resource as well. But essentially, sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
because you spoke of Jack Cruz, and when we speak about Jack Cruz, we're all happy and grateful.
Yeah, Jack, you know, he blows my mind. Let's just leave that. I forgot what I was going to say about him. But I think I was tying it into something.
But
anyways, I'm lost. I just got lost there.
Maybe later, because
yeah, that sounds good.
I don't know if you still have a few minutes to answer some questions.
Yeah. We can.
If those frequencies can improve how much ATP they produce, then maybe that should be beneficial for people who have a slow metabolism. Do you think?
Yeah, so essentially, like, if you have like chronic fatigue syndrome or something like that, red light therapy is going to be your savior. If you have some autoimmune condition, you know, red light can help. My thoughts on that are probably narrowband ultraviolet B could be better, but I would use both of them because it's important if you're doing isolated wavelength therapy, like, you know, phototherapy, where we're isolating wavelengths. We don't just want to dose ourselves with like one wavelength all the time. You know, we want to get some red in the morning. You know, the sun rises, it's red. That's why. We want to get the red in the morning, and that actually preconditions our skin to accept the ultraviolet light that comes later on in the day. And then the sun gets red again at sunset because it's actually anti-inflammatory, like I said, and it repairs your skin. And so it's like a cyclic kind of process throughout the day. It's like precondition, ultraviolet light, yes, it degrades some collagen, but you know, but red light increases collagen. So it's all balanced, you know, and you want to do the red light in the morning. If you want, you can do some ultraviolet A and B in the afternoon. This is what I like to do. Yeah. And then catch the sunset.
Yeah, you catch the sunset too?
Oh yeah. Red till dead. Red till dead, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Ask, oh yeah, this lady that I know because I was with her and coaching, she has a pretty big reaction in the back. She says it's probably an eczema. We are not really sure what it is, and she's not sure if she could use the red light or if could that do more harm than nothing.
Yeah, you know, here's the thing. I'm not like a medical professional, so it's difficult for me to comment on exact, you know, issues. I haven't seen it, so it would probably be a little bit like it's just my opinion. I feel is a little worthless since I don't know enough. But you know, you should always do a skin assessment first when you're using red light in your red light devices, especially ones that are as powerful as ours. You know, you should increase 5 minutes, you know, 5 minutes wait a day, assess, you know, 10 minutes on the third day, assess 15 minutes on the fifth day, assess the next day. If you're doing well at that point, you can go 20 minutes and you're going to find the optimal time in 20 and 25 minutes. And you can judge that just by the way you feel. The first thing you're going to notice is obviously more energy because essentially that's what it's doing to every cell in your body. It's like you're feeding off this light. You're not, it's like food, but it's not food. It's like it's the worst way to explain it. But,
it's not
food. It's like food. Yeah.
You know some yogic people talk about the prana diet.
Yeah.
Well, they're basically not eating, but just nourishing from light. And people are, I mean, we are often making jokes about it because when friends of mine seeing my red devices, they say, okay, it's like going to the restaurant.
No, that is funny. Yeah, no, it's yeah, I don't. I think you need to eat still, but
yeah. Yeah,
I would be skinny. I mean, I'm already borderline skinny. I can't. I need to get those protein shakes in once in a while.
And I have a last question. So in nature, you have the sun with red light in the morning and the evening, and you also have the fire, which is orange and red. So would that be beneficial to watch the fire as well as watching the lamp, the red light?
Fire is photobiomodulation. You know, this science has been done since fire, you know, probably a couple hundred. I mean, I don't think it would take natural healers after they discovered fire to figure out that there was some therapeutic advantages of fire. You know, there's I believe that I discovered randomly the origin, at least in Asia, of red light therapy, and it's called fire dragon therapy. And essentially, what they do is they douse you in alcohol, and then they light you on fire, and they put that, and then they light you on fire, and then they put it out in like 3 seconds. It's called fire dragon therapy. You can Google it. You see the images of these people on fire, and it's legitimate, like ancient Chinese medicine. So, you know, I guess we've come a long way because I don't think I'd be able to get insurance for this business.
Okay, so they have a point with this, but I think it cannot be the same because we don't know exactly what are the frequencies in the fire and what they do.
Yeah, well, it's gonna range from, you know, like 630 to like far infrared. So you're getting a lot of heat energy from the fire. But you know, essentially there's a lot of energy that's wasted in look, I'm not saying I'll be completely honest. you. If I was gonna do photobiomodulation with one of my lamps, or I had like a pretty sweet fire going, you know, I might like switch it up, you know, because I think they're both super beneficial.
Okay.
I think that like literally like squatting or like meditating in front of like a fire, you know, is quite similar actually. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's, you know, theoretically, it's a little bit more natural, I suppose. But you know, there are also benefits of LED photobiomodulation, because those devices emit all their energy in wavelengths that are known to be super biologically active. They don't mess around with all the other ones that, you know, we don't really know what we're doing. We know exactly what these wavelengths do, and yeah. And just for the record, there's been a study done on hair growth, and it's called wavelength dependent evaluation of hair growth. I think that's a study, and they found that 830 nanometers was the best.
How much?
830 nanometers. So that is in the fire wave.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know that by heart.
Yeah. So you know, give it a try, and keep me posted. Buy some shampoo with natural vasodilators like menthol and spearmint. Apply it a couple times a week, and you're going to see some improvement for sure. How much, I am not positive, but I know across the board it's good stuff.
I'm gonna try it, definitely. and just one last thing. I'm sorry. Because you said you were in front of your lamp for 20 to 25 minutes, but what would happen if someone would stay longer?
Yeah. So in the science of photobiomodulation, there's something called biphasic dose response. This essentially means that there's a bell curve, right? The maximum benefits are here, and it's like times here, and the benefits go up, and then when you reach a certain point, you start going down. Okay, so that's why I'm saying dosing is definitely super important. If the problem is, people like to think that they know everything about this, really it's a developing science, and we don't have everything nailed down. You know, this is how much exactly you need for this issue, you know. So the general consensus with my lamps would be, you know, 1.5 to 2 feet distance for you know, 20 to 25 minutes, and you need to personally assess what you think the sweet spot is between that 20 and 25 minutes. That's kind of my best advice. Okay, thank you.
That's so cool. I mean, we had so much information in this session. It's really amazing. I'm super happy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I talk a lot, so if you
but
can get through.
I really, that's what I wanted. I wanted to hear from your knowledge. So I hope people will be happy with everything you said, because I really am.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you having me on your podcast. So maybe we'll do another one soon.
Yeah, I'd love to. And thank you for your time, because it's in front of blue light. I know it's not really pleasant, but really I had a wonderful moment.
Thank you so much. Okay, chat soon.
Thank you.